Welcome everyone. Thank you for taking your time. Before we start, I'd like you to note 3 things. First, this webinar will be English-Japanese bilingual, and simultaneous interpretation will be provided, which you can hear by clicking on the globe button. Second, please post your questions using chat function for the Q&A session that follows the discussions. And lastly, this webinar will be recorded. Thank you for joining the webinar Women Who Lead, co-hosted by the Embassy of Sweden, Swedish Olympic Committee, and General Incorporated Association SDGs in Sport. My name is Kae Ishikawa. I'm a Director, Japan Liaison Office, UN Women, acting as Master of Ceremony today. Tokyo 2020 Olympics has finally opened. I hope you are enjoying the games on TV. To coincide with Tokyo 2020 Olympics, the Swedish Embassy Tokyo is running a campaign, Women Who Lead, which is to promote gender equality from the perspective of female leadership. In UN Women, building on our experience at the Rio Olympics, we are running a campaign called Sport for Generation Equality. Together with various stakeholders, such as people who engage in sports, people who watch sports, people who support sports activity, people who cover sports in media, we'd like to promote SDGs, in particular SDG number 5. To achieve female empowerment through sports, we are working on various initiatives based on 6 principles. Gender equality is embracing the theme of today's webinar. Gender equality is an Olympic movement as well. We'd like to promote deeper relations between Japan and Sweden in this area. We have Swedish Ambassador to Japan, Swedish Minister for Sports, Japanese and Swedish female leaders in sports. We are going to hear their talks in presentations and panel discussions. Now I'd like to invite Ambassador Per-Erik Hägberg.
Welcome to the Swedish Embassy right here in the Olympic city of Tokyo. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all the fantastic athletes that have arrived, and also a warm welcome to the Swedish Olympic Committee. The Embassy and I also want to express our big thank you to Fukuoka City and to Ibaraki, our host cities. Sweden and Japan, we have a long and strong history, also in the area of sports and the Olympics. And today, the Embassy and I are very happy to bring together a fantastic group of people from Japan and Sweden coming together not to compete, not on the field, but to talk. When it comes to gender equality and female leadership, for me, it's so obvious and it's so simple. The world will be a much better place with greater gender equality. So the question is then, how do we get there? What do we do about it? Well, that's why we meet today. So I hope that you will find this seminar interesting. And with that, I would like to hand over to the Swedish Minister of Sports and Culture, Amanda Lind.
Thank you, Ambassador, and good afternoon, dear colleagues, attendants, sportswomen and men. Although I would have wished to be in Tokyo during this special time, I am very excited to participate remotely in this webinar. As Sweden's Minister with responsibility for sport, it is an honor to have this opportunity to speak to you on the timely topic of women who lead in sport. As a representative of a feminist government, I am committed to building a society in which women and men, girls and boys can live their lives to their full potential. And this is a human right, and it is also a matter of democracy and justice. As we all know, sports play a meaningful role in so many people's lives. Sports engage, entertains, unites us, spurs debate, and sometimes even upsets. As important as sports is on an individual level, one could also argue that it has an even greater importance on a societal level. And therefore it is of utmost importance to promote opportunities for all people to practice and engage in sports, and to always enable both women and men, girls and boys, to participate. And I am of the strong belief that the sports movement benefits from becoming more inclusive and also more gender equal. And this work requires competent leaders. Leaders who set an example in promoting an inclusive and positive environment for those they lead. Leaders who serve as supportive role models. I'm happy to see that some of those leaders will speak during this event. Leaders within sports have an important role in promoting sustainable and strategic gender equality work as mentors for coming generations as well as actors of change. It is therefore my great pleasure to see initiatives being taken, questions being raised and glass ceilings broken for a more inclusive and gender equal sports movement worldwide. Lastly, I would like to wish you all a successful and valuable webinar, and I'm looking forward to following your future work and achievements. And of course, I want to wish the best of luck to the Japanese and Swedish athletes in the Olympic Games. Now I will give the floor to the next speaker, as I'm very excited to hear the upcoming discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. So let me begin the first section of today's webinar. Based on the World Economic Forum is a private think tank, and they issue Global Gender Gap Index, which is much talked about in Japan, and Sweden is actually ranked number 5 in the world. However, in the area of sports, the number of female leaders in sports is still small. The Swedish Olympic Committee has set up a project Q, starting with a question: why 70% of the sports leaders are men? And they are now establishing better environment for women to fully demonstrate their potential. The project leader, Ms. Ulrika Sandmark, is the head coach of the swimming in Tokyo 2020, and she understands the importance of today's webinar, and she is participating in today's webinar in between final match and qualifying round. Without further ado, Ms. Sandmark, will you explain about the project Q? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ulrika Sandmark. I'm very happy and honored to be here. And I'm responsible together with Ola Arnfeldt for a new project called Olympic Offensive Coach Development. And the goal of this project, which is started by the Swedish Olympic Committee, is to increase the number of female coaches on the very highest level, and that is the Olympic Games and the World Championships. We believe a good strategy is a top-down strategy. The Swedish Olympic Committee and other larger organizations and federations have to be role models in order to show that it's possible for female coaches to work on the highest level. If we put in some effort and are determined, we are convinced that there are female coaches out there. It takes some time and of course some strategies, but we have learned so far that with joint effort we can and we will increase the number of female coaches. The project, which is a pilot project, started this year with 22 female coaches from 14 different individual summer sports. And they have been nominated by the federations and selected by the Swedish Olympic Committee. Each selected coach makes a long-term development plan with the federations and also with the Swedish Olympic Committee. The plan should consist of different areas that are important for that coach individually for a challenging plan. The areas are, in the plan, specific areas that has to do with the individual sport. That could be to be at the championships internationally, camps, or other challenging environments. Other areas are more general areas like leadership, rhetoric, sustainable coaching, for instance. We also think that mentors are important for developing as coaches. So we think that mentors, both in the general areas and in the specific areas, that is the sport, are important. And of course, in the plan, there should be a plan. What is a role model? What is my purpose as a role model within my sport? I think we can change a picture. There we have a picture. This is almost all the female coaches, head coaches in the Swedish sports. 6 coaches, and 5 of them are here in Tokyo. We can also change picture again. And then we will have some statistics. I heard in the beginning, we were talking about 30% female coaches. Well, actually, less than 10% of the coaching staff, that is head coaches and coaches, have been female coaches during the last 16 years of Olympics. So only 10%. And that is summer and winter, a little bit better in the Summer Olympics. But we are determined. We will work hard to increase this number of female coaches. But we need support from federations, clubs, women, and men in the way we look at this area and in the way we prioritize. Role models are important. And so is also a number of female coaches. And in order to increase the number of female coaches, we need to scale up the program and find some more funding. More funding is needed to support federations and female coaches, to add female coaches to the national team program as a part of the team coach development. The goal is that we in Summer Olympics 2028 and Olympics 2030 will be more like 35 to 50% female coaches. It is a challenging goal, but we are optimistic. Response from the federations has been very, very supportive, and this initiative, and we believe this decade can be a game changer in the way the federations and clubs hire coaches. The coaching staff at Tokyo Olympics consists of 18% female coaches and 82% men. Better than before, but we, all of us, men and women, still have some hard job to do, and let's do it together. That's it.
Thank you very much. There were many keywords in what you said. For example, the importance of role models and federation working together. Everybody has to work together, and also numerical targets being there. I think there were many ideas mentioned. Now, I'd like to now call upon Ms. Kaori Yamaguchi, professor of Tsukuba University and former executive board of member of JOC. Thank you. Yeah, that was really impressive. I was very much impressed. In Japan, female athletes in the Tokyo Olympics this time are very active. But when it comes to coaches, referees, and organizations, I think the rate of female is still not so high. The capacity or capability of female is not falling short of women, but rather it's about experience and opportunity for their activities that need to be increased. And also for the young athletes, they need to see the female coaches being active, because that can be the model for their future. And therefore, developing role models, I think, is important. Thank you very much. That was Ms. Yamaguchi. So next, let's talk about the current ongoing Olympics, the activities by this Tokyo 2020 organizing committee. I'd like to ask the advisor to gender equality promotion team in the Tokyo 2020 organizing committee, the Olympian in swimming and the representative director of SDGs in sports, Ms. Naoko Imoto, please. Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Naoko Imoto. Can you show my slides? So, and from March this year, I have been serving as the advisor to the Gender Equality Promotion Team in Tokyo 2020 Organization Committee or Organizing Committee, and gender equality actions have been implemented through my work, among others. And so I'd like to explain what we're doing there. So please go to the next slide. Skip that one, and yes, next one. Yes, thank you. So why gender equality in Olympics has already been addressed or answered by other speakers. So I will go right into the action aspects. So today's, the Olympics this time is the most gender equal games in the Olympic history. What does that mean? First of all, the percentage or number of female athletes. In 1896 in Athens Olympics, there was no female participating, but then over the years there have been so much efforts being made, and this time in Tokyo 49% are female athletes. And looking at the details, for example, China, 69% are women female athletes.
In major countries like US, Australia, Canada, there are actually more women on their teams being sent for the Olympics in Tokyo. And for the United Kingdom, for the first time, there were more women than men participating. So in many countries, there have been many changes occurring. And in the past, maybe some countries had no female athletes being dispatched to the Olympics, but at least one female as well as one male athlete have been sent by all countries. And in different sports, there is this effort to make the number being equal between men and women. And of course, there are new items such as boxing and swimming female 1,500 meter freestyle have been added for women as well. And the relay, mixed relay with men and women, and also for swimming track, triathlon relays, table tennis. There is for the first time mixed table tennis competition. So that's new. And also archery and shooting also have new developments as well. And not just in sports, but for the organization committees, there have been many efforts being made. First, female department in the polyclinic in the athletic or Olympic village for the first time and was developed and it's in place. And media is serving a major role in relation to gender equality. The media is trying to also have the same number of representations between female and male. And accreditations are equally issued for men and women. And also, there has been an official ban on the use of photographs and videos with sexual harassment suspicions. And Seiko Hashimoto is, of course, a female leader who is serving as the president of the committee, which was an epoch-making in Japan. Many things, not being in sports, but in society at large, are happening. And 42% of the board members are female, which was unthinkable in the past. So a major reform was made in that front as well. Also, as mentioned, the establishment of the Gender Equality Promotion Team within the organizing committee. And how to represent sporting events is something I would like to everyone to pay attention to as well. For example, 2 days ago at the opening ceremony, you noticed that the flag bearers were men and women. It was a pair, And also in the medal ceremony, gender equality is given due consideration. And the last point here is just the other day, this organizing committee announced to the media how should gender unequal statement or scenes can be avoided. And so this IOC new guideline has been issued and translated into English so that media can look through it so that they will refrain from taking photographs that can be seen from the sexual perspective, or don't call women like in Japanese, some derogative phrases can be used to call names of women. So please refrain from that. So this is one of the proposals made in the guideline. Many actions have been taken and many in pipeline, and therefore we are approaching or trying to approach more fairer Olympics. Thank you. Thank you very much, Imoto-san. The Tokyo 2020 Olympic is indeed much talked about Olympic Games. So let me move on to the panel discussion. Let me introduce the panelists. Ms. Kaori Yamaguchi, professor at Tsukuba University and former executive board member of JOC and bronze medalist in judo. Ms. Kukiko Okajima, chair of Japan Women Professional Football League, WE League, and we have Gunilla Lindberg, Secretary General, Swedish Olympic Committee, also IOC member. And we have Ms. Therese Alshammar, the Swedish swimmer, who has won the largest number of medals in Europe. And as I mentioned earlier, in the midst of Olympic Games going on, it is a wonderful thing to invite all these distinguished speakers. Are you following the games? I know some of you are in the middle of Olympic Games, but without further ado, I'd like to move on to the panel discussion. So from your perspective, I'd like to understand how you've been involved in female leadership development and so on. Yamaguchi-san, will you start? Yes. I've been acting as executive member of JOC. My main responsibility was to lead female sport subcommittee. In sport, we've been trying to enhance the status of female actors, such as increasing the number of executives in JOC, because increasing the number of female athletes in Japan who are taking proactive role in Japan, but still when it comes to sporting activity, we don't have sufficient environment for females and girls to fully enjoy sporting activity, because female or women have life events, getting married, bearing children, and nurturing them.
And the junior athlete girls have different development process from boys. So we need to really capture the female perspective in female or girl athlete. Otherwise, without addressing this, we won't be able to offer good environment for women to fully enjoy sports. So that's something I've been doing. The number of female executives at JOC, it struggled to grow, but recently, as Imoto-san mentioned earlier, in this time's Tokyo Olympic, we started to see the increase of the percentage of female executives in JOC. Not only we support or empower female in the sporting field, sports needs to capture more of the female perspective. Otherwise, we can't really see true development of sports in Japan. And that's something we need men to understand as well. With the better understanding of men for that agenda, we can create better environment for all. And when you look at the Olympic Games, we see good number of female athletes. Yes, but true. But we would like to create the overall better environment to encourage women to enjoy and exert fullest potential in esports. Thank you. Women has different life events from men, and girls' development process is different from boys, and we need to keep those in our mind whenever we work on the sporting program. Okujima-san, you are the initial chair for the Japan Women's Empowerment Professional Football League. Can you explain about your experience so far? Thank you. My name is Okajima. I am the chair of WE League. Will you please bring up my slide? First of all, I would like to congratulate a great performance of Swedish women's soccer team. And when it comes to the female soccer, Sweden is very much advanced country, and I'm very honored to be able to participate in today's panel discussion with a great and prominent panelist from Sweden. WE League's WE means women empowerment, and this is the very first Japanese female professional soccer league, which is starting on 12th of September. This league has mission, as you see on the slide. We would like to promote the gender equality, diversity, female empowerment from a sports perspective. And one of the requirement for club to be a part of a WE League, we ask a club to empower women, meaning that making sure that the club has at least one female decision maker, at least one coach or a female coach or manager, or 50% of the club staff is consisted of women. Our purpose is to make sure that club can serve as the second career opportunity for active players. Now, when we look at the WE League athletes, the athletes were playing in the amateur league until last year, so they work in the morning and they do practice in the afternoon. And that's how they led their life. And starting this year in February, majority of those athletes started to play soccer as a professional player, and then they do soccer as a career. But we do have some challenges. For example, Japanese women have less self-efficiency compared to America, where I was involved for about 30 years. And sometimes the women, they are promoted by the company, but they feel like they are not qualified or entitled to act as a manager. And the same applies the sporting field as well. And sometimes they are compared against the male coaches and leaders, and that led to the lower self-efficiency amongst the female soccer players. So we ask all the athletes to be qualified as coaches. So if they wish, they can continue their career as a coach. And what we are doing is to promote the empowerment of the female athletes. Can you hear me? Okay. Yes. So and then we hold a WE meeting. We hold online meeting with all the athletes in different clubs since 1970 till now. There is a good female soccer history. So we talk about the soccer history, and we talk about the position of female soccer in Japan. And also, we ask them to pair up with the other, player and talk about their strengths. And in the break room, I ask questions to them. Next, please. So in a different meeting, one person is to be representing each club, and they were to develop a credo that is a code of conduct, and then they will bring back homework to the individual clubs so that they will have discussion sessions within the clubs and become a model for girls is what one idea came up. That was the idea. And so to think about the future state, that would lead to empowerment of herself. I think that will be a positive aspect. And so going forward, we're going to realize the #1 league being WE League. We want to make it the world's #1 league, and also we want to invite overseas athletes to WE League in Japan, and hopefully Swedish soccer players will come to the WE League and play with us. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Okajima. Yes, I had many opportunities and still have many opportunities to work with you. And every time I work with you, I'm impressed with the passion that she has for fostering leaders of the future in sports. And that's really encouraging. So next, we would like to move over to our Swedish colleagues. So first, Ms. Lindberg. I know you're very, very busy during this Olympics, so thank you very much. And this is the 26th the participation for you in the Olympic Games. So the leadership in sports, of course, I'm sure you have some ideas, but what are some of your ideas about that, as well as the activities that you have been engaging in, please?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me to this very important seminar. I would like to start with to congratulate Japan and the organizing committee here, because one of the biggest legacies in Japan from these games will be the gender equity program that you have started in the organizing committee. And I will say also thanks to your president of the organizing committee, Madam Seiko. It's a new, really new world we see now coming on in Japan. As you said, my first games were actually in Sapporo, 1972. And in those games, I can tell you that from the Swedish side, I don't think we had one single coach or team leader. It has been a development since then. We're still working on it. As Ulrika said, it's still not good enough. From the international perspective, the IOC was created as an organization in 1894. When I came in on IOC was 1996, and we were 11 members. And actually the first member elected was in 1981. So you can imagine it was a very, very male-dominated organization. So much has happened since then, and it doesn't happen by itself, because you need to have leadership that are interested in promoting women, and that's not only women themselves. This is a working together with the man, and now we are almost 40% women in IOC, and it's a strategy. You need to have a strategy, and that strategy is to have women in all the working commissions, as you said, and you have to really start from the grassroots level, so we can engage with girls, women, and then they become leaders, and we also need to help them. But it's a together work, and it's a strategy behind it. And on the athlete side, as you said, we are almost 50%, and we will be 50% in Paris Games. It will actually be exactly 50% women, and we have also been working there to the new mixed events in many sports. It's actually 10 different sports that we now have mixed events in. And also what I would like to say to all the girls, and depending on, you can be on the club level, it could be on the national federation, international federations, but you have to stand for elections, because if you don't stand for elections, you can never be elected. And you have to be prepared to lose, because that's the way. If you lose, you come back, as all the athletes are doing. And that's a good way to, I think, promote women. And we need role models, as you said, in the sport movement and of course in the Olympic movement. But the IOC has during the past years have many programs, and you can see the result now.
Thank you very much. So as we listen to various ideas, please type in your questions in the chat box. And now I'd like to ask Ms. Therese Alshama from Sweden. I know you're joining us from far away. So when you were active athletes, I'm sure you really gained many different skills, but what skills is really useful to your activities today, now? What skills is useful for you and your activities today?
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for inviting me and for hosting this important event. My name is Therese Alshammer. I am a former swimmer from Sweden. I participated in 6 Olympic Games from 96 till 2016. My mother was an Olympian. She swam the 72 Olympics. So I was brought here with a very strong role model. And since during my career, I swam with over 20 or 30 different coaches. And I was very interested in how you, like good leadership and how you create good environment for growth. Now I'm based in Stockholm, Sweden, and I've written 2 children's books on swimming, and I run a Learn to Swim program. And yeah. I was told you were going to ask me questions. No, but I can go on. I can, do you want me to share my, yeah, I'll share some of that from my journey. I think it's very important. The female perspective in swimming, the sports I come from, we are very fortunate that we train and race on the same basis. We are a fairly equal sports. During my career, I had majority leaders were male, but we had some females. But since we are a very equal sports in the setup, we don't see too many differentiations in the male or female athletes from the leaders. But of course, it's a very male-dominating leadership. We have so many more male coaches and leaders, and I don't think it's set up for men, so by men. So I think you have to, as we are doing now, highlight the issues and make it more attractable and make it more socially connected for females. Because if you are a female leader, I have seen, or I find it very many times, you are much more under pressure and in the spotlight for maybe other qualities than male leaders are often. And that's sad. But I also find that leadership, we should talk about, of course, to make it a fair playing field, but also it's about empathy, knowledge, and cooperation. So those values are very important for me, that people cooperate, you know, the role models is so important, but then to find cooperation and empathy. And I have a little kid here, sorry. Yes.
That's okay, and I can see that you balance your work and life very well as well. Just based on your experience as an athlete, what are the skills that you sort of developed during your athlete time that you are still carrying on as the skills that you can use today? Yeah,
I learned quite early, like you have to ask questions. First of all, you have to be brave because you have to find a way for yourself. There's no other path than your own. So you have to find what works for yourself and like, what are my values and what I want to go after. And then you have to listen and ask questions. And in swimming, I learned to be very organized and structured. That doesn't look like that now, but no, this is my priority 1. So that's my organization, I guess. But I think you have to be very clear with your goals and missions. And then like, you have a responsibility in what you bring into whatever team or whatever work you come into. So the cooperation and the value of working together to find a good environment is also your own responsibility to find your own code and your ethos on what you want to work with and what kind of spirit you want to bring to the team. I think that's a good vision to have set up for yourself.
Thank you very much.
So you said it's very important to listen to others and also be responsible for yourself. And as Okashima-san said earlier, Japanese women are not feeling confident in themselves, so they feel reluctant to raise voices and ask questions. So that seems to be one of the skills that Japanese women needs to be better equipped. So we have both, panelists from Japan and Sweden. So someone from Japan, do you have any question to the panelists in Sweden? This is going to be a very casual, interactive discussion from now onward. So may I? Yes. So when I look at Sweden from Japan, I feel like gender equality is truly upheld by Sweden as a whole. But I don't think that the gender equality concept did exist, without doing anything. There were some initiatives and effort in Sweden which led the social transformation, I guess. So can I ask Swedish colleagues what kind of activities you've been involved or implemented in order to promote everyone's understanding of gender equality? I feel like when it comes to the gender equality, Sweden is far ahead of Japan, but that's because you've earned so far. What kind of activities, initiatives that you have implemented to get yourself, to this level?
No, it's, the society as a whole, as you said, today we have reached a long way, but I think that also is it's a strategy. You need to have a strategy, and you need to be active, and you need to dare to raise your voices as a woman. But also, as Therese said, you need to help the women to go out there and be active and work and also in sport. Because we are over the whole world, we have the same thing. I mean, we take care of the children and maybe are very much responsible at home. So we need maybe some more resources also to think about that. But the Swedish society, it has been a long way, and we are still not perfect. And I go over to Ulrika, because I think the sporting side and the coaching side is the most important we have to work with now.
Yeah, I think when I look at swimming, we have a long way to go. And also the other sports, I think the athletics has come a long way in Sweden. They have a pretty many women coaches, female coaches. But when you were talking about the society and the family, I think that, and Therese knows this better because I don't have any children, but the man in the family, he can be at home with the children as well as the woman. And I think that's very unique for Sweden. And that also sends a message, I think, that is very important. Because, for instance, in swimming, and I guess all the sports that are here in the Olympics, you need to practice a lot. As a coach, you have to be there a lot. But I think there are ways for coaching with a shared leadership for men and women, that we can come farther. We can make it a lot better, I think. And you need to do that in order to have a family. But I ask Therese to continue in that question, because she has a family, so she knows.
Go ahead, Therese.
Yeah, I agree very much. I think we in Sweden have a fortunate situation because we are very much from the governmental side very far ahead, that we have paternal leave and mandatory paternal leave, which is amazing and sets a tone for everyone in society. But I also think for females and around the world, it's very easy to feel alone and isolated because you are outnumbered. So the relatedness and support is one of the key issues I think we have to find. And these things, to find networks or to find relatedness, and you find a society where you can have the support and find role models, is very, very important. But I think females maybe are, I think males, in my opinion, what I've seen, just no facts or statistics, but I think they're better at networking. I think they're better at just, finding time to hang out one-on-one. And maybe this part of our life that we are most often with our children takes out that part of socializing and networking. And I think that's maybe the one little factor where we can find more relatedness and support if we get better at networking outside of our works.
Can I say something more? When we were in a training camp, the pre-camp in Fukuoka, Sarah Sjöström, our butterflyer, she got a question. No, actually, she asked a question to one of the pupils. And then she said, do you know anything about Sweden? And then they said, yes, I know that you in Sweden can take your children to the government when you work. That is, I think, is very special.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yes, during the COVID-19, that was much talked about in Japan. Women are involved in the housekeeping, nursing care, and children, bearing. They were so busy, so they had to, stop their career. And as I listened to the panelists from Sweden, I feel like a collaboration between men and women are quite important, and that's indeed helped Sweden to move ahead. Now we are running ahead, running in short of time, so I would like to open the floor for Q&A. So we would like to get the question from Japan. So the question to the Swedish colleagues is that the definition of this 40% being the percentage of the head coach, is that talking about the national teams?
It's the question about the project that I introduced. Yes.
Yes.
So the goal is 35 to 50%, and that is coaches on the highest level, and that is coaches and head coaches, not leaders, coaches and head coaches. On the highest level, Olympic Games or World Championships, and or.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Can I ask Ed for the IOC and the international level? Now we have a decision taken that for the Olympic committees and for the international federations, at least 30% of the leadership should be women. And that's also a great step forward, I think, and hopefully we can reach that in the coming years.
Thank you very much. There's yet another question, and I think this is from Sweden, is it?
What is the tips to find your own goals? I am a 24-year-old girl, and sometimes I feel like I've got lost to face my dreams, or I'm not sure whether my goal or my choice is correct. What made you believe yourself about the thing you were thinking?
So it's a question from this 24-year-old girl, wondering if she wonders if her goal or choices are correct. Any message from you?
It's a question about, I don't know what her goal is. Sorry, I didn't understand the question. What's her goal? Or she's just lost?
Sorry, we didn't really hear the question.
Okay, let me repeat.
Yeah,
what is the tips to find your own goal?
Maybe it's better to say it in Japanese. So how do you actually find your own goal? I'm a 24-year-old girl, and sometimes I feel that I have lost my dreams, or I'm not so sure about my dream, or I'm not sure if my goal is correct. And so in your case, Teresa, what made you believe in yourself and about your dream and goals? But so Yamaguchi-san, maybe later, but Teresa, please.
Yes. Okay. From what I understand, I think you need to find a goal through listening to what inspires you to work hard. If you find something that you long for and that you dream to achieve, then you should set that as your goal, and then it becomes easier to work towards. But then you need to be structured and organized to work towards that goal. And I think one of the things as a female, it's good to share we get taught to share our strengths, but it's good to also share your weaknesses and worries. So find someone, maybe a role model or someone who's done it before. It's always easier to follow someone who's done it before and talk to them and get to find out that they're also only human, that everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and that you can learn from each other.
Thank you very much. So any response from our panelists on the Japanese side? So this girl, a 24-year-old girl, or other girls may have some doubts about their goals and choices. Any message? Well, yes, as was mentioned, yes, somebody that you dream to be, an aspirational model, the model for you. Who is that? Maybe you should look towards somebody that you can look up to, read her books, maybe what she has written. Somebody not too far away, but maybe someone who's not too far away, maybe 2-3 steps in front of you. Don't aim too high, because it will not, in many cases, work out for you. So think about the next things that you could possibly achieve, and then work from there, and then it will open up. Things will open up for you. I think you will find your way towards that nearby goals. Thank you very much. May I add? Please. Well, when it comes to sports, the goals are quite clear. Or I would say it's easy to set goals. But once I retired from my career, I had some questions about my goals. What do I work towards? So I'm just like the 24-year-old girl. You don't have to actually have a goal, but maybe if you may find it someday in the future. So dreaming about that, you just do what you should do and can do today. And then while you're working at the things that's in front of you, maybe you will discover something that will become your goal. Thank you. Yes, true. Putting too much pressure on yourself, thinking that I have to find a goal and I have to really work towards that goal. Well, rather than having that pressure, maybe have a closer goal that you could achieve. And we're living in the day and age of diversity. So there's no one correct answer, correct path or route. I think through many experiences, maybe you can find your own way for your happiness. Well, it's been only 1 hour, very short, but in that 1 hour period, I think we were able to have much fruitful and rich discussion. Of course, we wish we had more time, but thank you very much for sparing your very busy time to be with us on this webinar. And there's a message that some people have difficulty hearing the sound, but this is 4 p.m. So for now, let's close it. But this is not the end of our discussion or dialogue. In the future, we will continue with this exercise of having exchanges with you. So once again, thank you very, very much for your participation. And let's root for the teams and the athletes during the Olympics. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.